You know what the worst thing about taxes is? Well, for one, accountants seem to always use jargon that the everyday person can't understand. And for two, the federal government won't tell you how much you owe in taxes unless you don't pay them enough in taxes. Or if you pay them too much, but no one really ever pays them too much. So I was just sitting there thinking, why is taxes so dang complicated? And what got me thinking this was a comment on one of my recent videos where I was talking about Snapchat Spotlight and how much they pay you and how none of that money seems to be taxed at the moment that they pay you. So this video is basically meant for people in a similar situation as me who have been earning money on Snapchat Spotlight, whether it be $100, $5,000, $20,000, $50,000, a significant sum of money on Snapchat Spotlight, and you really have no idea on how much you should be putting aside for taxes. So I ain't planning on giving you a step-by-step tutorial on calculating exactly how much you need to be saving for taxes in your personal situation. Now I have to put a little caveat in here, meaning that this probably won't apply directly to you. However, it should get you to a far enough point where you know around how much you should be saving to the nearest $100. Now the reason why I say this may not apply directly to you is because you may be in a different financial situation than I am or the next person around you, and you may qualify for different tax credits or tax deductions. But as I just used those last two words, I plan on dumbing down this whole tax situation a lot more than the average YouTube video does. Because if you want to hear words thrown around like tax deductions and tax credits and standard deductions, you can go contact your local accountant or CPA and you can get those words thrown at you. But this video right here is to really dumb down this whole situation. So I'm going to try my best to make this as simple as possible and as easy to follow as possible. And if you have a 6th or 5th grade math education, then you should be able to do this math yourself. So before we get into the video, let me introduce myself. My name is Anfernee. I like to make videos about making money online, entrepreneurship related topics, and also how to invest in the stock market. And if you want to support the channel and get some free money on your own, then use the link in the description below, where if you sign up to WeBull and deposit $100, you will get not 1 but 2 free stocks deposited into your account just for signing up and depositing $100 into that account. You don't have to buy anything with that $100, you simply have to put it into the account. And after you get your 2 free stocks, you could take your $100 back and run away with your free money. But let's get back into the purpose of this video. You are making money on Snapchat Spotlight. Congratulations, you are doing well. This is a very new platform, but it does not have a lot of exposure around the ins and outs of it. And if you haven't heard of Snapchat Spotlight at all, it's basically an Instagram Reels and TikTok copy where you upload 10 to 60 second videos in order for those videos to get a lot of views. And if they do get a lot of views, you stand to earn a lot of money. From my past few weeks of uploading videos, any videos that got over 100,000 views stood to earn about 3,000 to 4,000 views per video, and that has estimated to earn about $10,000 to almost $20,000 in some months, which is absolutely an insane amount of money because it takes absolutely nothing to get started. But let's assume you already have been posting on Spotlight and you already got your first paycheck, with that paycheck being a healthy sum of $10,000. Now the reason why I want to use $10,000, as you'll find out later in this video, is because it provides for easy math and also helps with more complicated scenarios as well. And honestly, earning $10,000 from Snapchat Spotlight isn't all that hard if you have 1 or 2 videos do very well. It's not like YouTube where you have to have a consistent posting schedule for a very long period of time. And it's not like TikTok where you get paid 1 or 2 pennies per 1,000 views. If you get 1 or 2 videos on Snapchat Spotlight to do well, you can earn some serious change, as I talked about in one of my recent videos. But assume that you just got your $10,000 paycheck. How much would you actually need to save for taxes, and how would you go about doing that math? Well, at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about a shortcut that you can use to get a rough estimate of this number. But for now, let's go into the exact math of the equation. So basically, when you're earning money from Snapchat Spotlight, whether you have a job on the side or not, you will be qualified for this paycheck as a self-employed person, meaning that you are basically a freelancer. For this paycheck, you don't have a business that you are working for. You are working for yourself. And that is important to know because as a self-employed person, you have to pay extra taxes for that benefit of being self-employed. Now, what are those extra taxes? So in order to not get any of this information wrong right here, I'm going to go directly to the IRS website itself and tell you exactly what it says. So the self-employment tax is a tax consisting of Social Security and Medicare taxes, primarily for individuals who work for themselves. And it goes a little bit more in detail into this, but basically what you need to know is that the self-employment tax rate is 15.3%, and it consists of 2 parts, a 12.4% for Social Security and a 2.9% for Medicare. Now, if you have a W-2 job already, then you may be familiar with these two parts because they take these out of everybody's paycheck. But the only difference is that as a W-2 employee, they take 7.15% out of your paycheck because your employer pays the other half. But as a self-employed person, because you don't have an employer, you will be responsible for the full 15.3%. Now, this is going to be one of the easiest maths to do in this equation, and all you have to do to find out how much you would need to save for self-employment taxes would be multiply the amount that you actually earned. In my example, it was $10,000, and you will multiply that by 0.153%. So in my example, if you got a $10,000 paycheck, you would have to save $1,530 put aside for self-employment taxes. Now, you may think that this math is over, but it's not. There are still two other major parts that you need to take into account of when you're saving for your taxes. And those two other parts are state and federal taxes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go into state taxes because the federal taxes can get a little more complicated, and also not everybody actually qualifies for a state income tax. You see, most states have a state income tax, but if you live in a state like Florida, for example, they don't have state income tax, so you won't have to save for those. But if you're like me and you live in a state like Alabama, where the state income tax is 5% of your overall earnings, how you do this math is also really simple as well. You will multiply 5% by the gross amount that you earn, and in my example, it was $10,000. So that means you would have to save $500. Put that aside for your state income tax. Now, I know I'm going to get a couple comments talking about how Alabama has a progressive tax system like the federal tax system, meaning that as you make more, the taxes that you owe actually increases. But for this example, I'm really trying to work with rough numbers. So I'm not going to calculate 2% of the first $500 and then 4% of the next $3,000 in order to get a number. I'm just going to take 5% of the overall amount that we earn so I can get a rough number on how much I would need for taxes. And since in the state of Alabama, 5% is the highest tax rate, I would just say 5% of my total income in order to get the amount that I owe. So now let's take a quick recap. We earned $10,000. We had to save 15.3% of that $10,000 for self-employment tax. And then we also had to save 5% of that same initial $10,000 for state income tax. Now, what I want you to understand is that even though we did self-employment tax first, we do not subtract that number from our overall earning number in order to get the money that we owe for state income tax. Every single time that we calculate the amount that we potentially owe, we always start with that initial amount that we earned in the first place. And in this example, it is $10,000. But now let's move on to the third part of this tax triangle, which is probably the most complicated part, and that is the federal income tax level. So as many as you may already know, the federal tax system in the United States of America is a progressive tax system. Basically, what that means is that the more money that you make, the more that you owe. And this system is separated very conveniently in brackets. So when you hear people talking about their tax bracket, basically what they're talking about is what progressive tax bracket that they fall in because of how much money they earn on an annual basis. And I'm going to pull up on the screen now what those tax brackets are as of the year 2021. And as I pull up the 2021 federal income tax brackets, we can see that the first bracket in this system is up to $9,950. That means that any amount of money that you earn up to $9,950 will be taxed at 10%. And any amount above that number will be taxed at the next bracket in the system, which is 12%. And what a lot of people get confused at is that they think that because they are in the third system of the bracket system, that they will be taxed at only that percentage of their money. And that's one of the reasons why I use this number of $10,000 to show you exactly how that is not the case. So let's do this math really quickly so you can know exactly how much money you would need to save if you earn $10,000 from Snapchat Spotlight. So what you would do is that you would take the first $9,950 that you earned of your $10,000 and you'll multiply that by 10% because that is the first tier of the bracket. And once you do that, you'll get $995. But wait, we earned $10,000 in a year, not $9,950. And because of that, it puts us $50 into the second tier of the tax bracket system, which is at 12%. So what we'll do now is we'll take the extra $50 or any amount above $9,950 and we'll multiply that number by 12%. So in our case, it is 50 times 0.12, which is $6. But if you earn $20,000 instead of $10,000, you would subtract that same $9,950 from $20,000 and you will multiply that number by 0.12% because that is how much money you earned above the first bracket in the system. So in our case, since we earned $10,000, we owe $995 in the first bracket and $6 in the second bracket, which leaves us at $1,001 for our federal income tax liability, or basically the money that we owe. And with that, we have all three portions of our tax liability complete, and we can just add it all up to see how much money we will owe before we take out any deductions. Now, I won't actually be going over deductions in this video because I do think this video is already getting pretty long. But if you want to see another video about tax deductions, then leave a comment down below, as I am willing to do a video covering just that if it's what you guys want. So going back over the 3 parts of our tax liability to see what we owe, we can then add up exactly what we will owe. So for the first part, which is self-employment tax, we owe $1,530. And then for our state income tax, we owe $500. And then for the math we just added up, for our federal income tax, we owe $1,001, which leaves us at a tax liability of $3,031 before tax deductions. Now, if this was an abnormal scenario where you didn't have any tax deductions at all, then this would be the amount that you would have to pay in a check to the IRS come tax time. But because we live in a world of tax deductions and tax credits, you will probably eventually have to owe much less than this. But exactly how much that is will be dependent on your personal situation. But this in itself will be the maximum amount that you would owe based on this specific tax year and based on this specific information and this specific earning situation. So I know I promised at the end of this video that you're going to get a shortcut beyond all of this math to get how much you would need to save for taxes without doing all of this crazy specific math. And basically a simple way to find out how much you would need to pay for taxes is to simply multiply the amount that you earned by 30%, meaning that you will be saving 30% of every dollar that you earn for tax purposes. Now, this is a really efficient and quick rule of thumb because it works for most tax scenarios upwards to $200,000 to $300,000, where you would then have to be saving about 35 to almost 50% of your earnings just for taxes. But to show you that this 30% rule of thumb works, let's see exactly how our math stacked up in comparison to that rule of thumb. So if we divide $3,331, which is what I said we will owe in taxes, by $10,000, that is equal to about 30.3%, which is roughly accurate to the amount that we would actually end up owing based on this current information. So if you're like me and you want to get down to the exact dollar on how much you would owe before deductions, then you can do the math the long way. Or if you're like most other people and you want just a general rule of thumb of how much you should be saving, then just save 30% of every dollar that you earned, and that should cover your tax liabilities no problem, unless you're earning $500,000 or more. But with all that being said, I really hope you did enjoy this video, and I really hope you did find some kind of value in this video. I know this whole tax situation and tax savings thing can get so complicated and so convoluted that most people just want to outsource it to an accountant. But if you really put a little bit of thought into it, you can save yourself a lot of money, and then you can also do your taxes yourself and know exactly how much money you would need to earn and save without any outside interference. And if you did find value in this video, don't forget to drop a like on the video for your boy, as it really does help my channel out and it helps it push it out a little bit more in the YouTube algorithm. And for some strange reason, every time I take a little bit of a break from YouTube, one of my old random videos seem to start doing well out of nowhere. And right now that video is how to save $10,000 the easy way if you're working on minimum wage or not. And if you want to check that video out, I will put a little card up here so you can go check that video out yourself. Also, don't forget to go get your 2 free stocks from WeBull, as all you have to do is use the link in the description and deposit $100 into an account, and you'll get yourself 2 free stocks just for signing up. Go get that free money, as it's just sitting there waiting there, and it's almost like a little mini stimmy package from the president. However, with all that being said, I hope you found value in this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.